Hi, welcome to the next session, Development of Psychology in India. Today, we'll be seeing the most important part of psychology session. As we are living in India and fascinated about a career in psychology, we look what are the institutions available in India for the higher education and what are the opportunities available and what is the scope of psychology in India. So definitely, this session would help you to deal and clear with all those queries. And as India is highly enriched with the knowledge of philosophy and having a great mythological texts and long culture which impact the southern part, the Asian countries, and also many other parts of the world. Definitely, we will have an idea that psychology in India also one of the leading sectors and also have a bright side in a career platform in and around the world. Well, that's really a good point. But is it correct? Maybe. We shall see that those queries and our assumptions and whatever we thought when we come across these words psychology, a career, psychologist, counseling, all these things. Definitely, we will see where our India is and what are the opportunities available in India. So, knowing the history so far and how psychology came to India and how far it is developed, who are the important persons who contributed for the establishment of psychology and for the development of psychology, and what is the position of psychology and its development in India today. All these questions will be discussed in the session. Let's start with the session. So, India has a rich philosophical knowledge, and psychology being a branch of philosophy, most of its knowledge is related and very much deeply connected to philosophy in India and around the world. Most of the things, the knowledge, or as we said, that psychology is a study of human behavior or study on understanding of behavior of any living being. Definitely, philosophy is part of a living, and psychology will be the knowledge of understanding philosophy in one way. So, Indian philosophy, as discussed in the previous session, deals with the understanding of mind and its behavior and its connection to the human behavior and reactions. In that way, Indian philosophy has impact on psychology. Definitely, it its rich cultural impact will have a notable mark in development of psychology. In that way, psychology in India concentrated more, more on the reactions of mind and body and its connections to the human behavior, cognition, thought processes, mental processes, experience of the human being, etc. So, in that way, Indian psychology is more connected to the inner self of the individual and how mental processes impact the human behavior around or outside the world. In that case, then what about the Western methods we discussed in the previous session? Psychoanalysis, structuralism, gestaltism, functionalism, the schools of psychology which were developed from the Western side. If you see the next slide, India continues to be dominated by Western psychology. If you see the methods or the establishment of psychology is taken just 100 years back. As said earlier, it is just a modern science and it is a born baby. 100 years is a very short journey, but Indian psychology has a very many more opportunities from Indian side to the world because India, as said, it is the most knowledgeable land around the world. So, we have alternative medicine, alternative therapeutic techniques, rich knowledge of Vedas and Upanishads. In that way, if we practice psychology in an effective manner and if we can prove scientifically the knowledge which is available today, development of psychology in India will have a milestone in the world development. So, though it is dominated by Western philosophy, as Western philosophy or psychology is scientific methods which are followed and they are practical with the human behavior and examining the behavior in the external side. So, in that way, we are still a bit connected to the Western part of research and study, and we are just starting our journey in India. So, ancient philosophy of India attempts have tried to establish a true value of various assertions in Indian philosophical traditions through scientific studies. Definitely, as we said, ancient mythology and ancient history of India has an impact, and modern psychologists are trying to connect these two with the modern psychology. Understanding the ancient methods and literatures definitely make us understand what is the culture, what are the real facts available to understand the human being and its own self, and it will be developed to examine the inner self of any human being and try to resolve the issues of the self so that the mind will be purified and the impact of human behavior will be fruitful. So, moving forward, this is really important. So far, we have discussed the importance and how psychology in India or the stage of psychology in India is. And now we will see the starting point of psychology in India and how it started. Who are all the important persons? We'll be sliding through the presentation. So, the first, psychology is not established as a department. It is introduced as a syllabus as a part of philosophical course as is experimental psychology in University of Calcutta in 1915. This is really an important year which the journey of psychology started. But the first department of psychology was headed by the same Calcutta University, and the university also introduced another department of applied psychology in 1938. University of Calcutta is the first college or university to introduce the program in psychology and establish a department of psychology in India. University of Calcutta is in western part of India. So, Indian history, University of Calcutta has a very important footprint in development of psychology in India. So, after the establishment of psychology, after knowing this, you might have crossed the question like who is the person involved in establishment of psychology in India? Who is none other than Anand Sen Gupta, who was trained under the tradition of Wilhelm Wundt and who was the first and foremost person contributed for the establishment of psychological department in India at University of Calcutta. Next to him, Professor G. Bose is trained in most famous and disrupting methods in psychology, Sigmund Freud's psychoanalytic theory, and he established another department in India. He led the same department in Calcutta and established another department in Calcutta and played a key role in establishing psychological developments, and he also established an association which is Indian Psychoanalytic Association in 1922. So, Anand Sen Gupta and G. Bose played a key role in the establishment of psychology in India. Moving forward, Department of Psychology in the universities of Mysore and Patna. As discussed previous, that University of Calcutta was the first university to launch psychological course and establishment department. The second was in South India, which is Mysore. There is also another center which is established in the Patna, which is Bihar, which is northern part of India. These are the first earlier universities and that to previous pre-independence era where psychology has its courses and student involvement. G. Bose was also the person who received PhD from first Indian University in psychology department. So later, after the establishment of psychology, it has slowed down as the period was British colonization under the impact of British colonization, and there is a much impact of Western uh, traditional impact on Indian development. Center of Excellence. Centers of Excellence are funded by UGC, University of Grants Commission, which is the monitoring authority of higher education in India. One of the departments organization to provide guidance for any university in India. Of course, there are other organizational plans such as open schooling or thing. UGC is the one who is playing an important role in university level impact and updates. So there are two centers of excellence. One is in Bhubaneswar and one is Allahabad. Bhubaneswar one is funded by UNICEF, United Nations International Children's Education Fund, and the other one was concentrating on cognitive science, which is mental processes of human behavior and understanding the processes of mind. So these are the two centers of excellence in India earlier 20th century. So after the establishment of psychology and centers of excellence, as the two persons we discussed are having a great importance in development of psychology, next was Durganand Sinha, who wrote a book, Psychology in a Third World Country, The Indian Experience, published in 1986, which tried to explain the history of psychology and its original roots in India. He tried to explain the book in 4 phases. 1, under the influence of Western approach. 2nd, his phase of expansion and trying to have own mark. 3rd was development of indigenous psychology, approaches based on traditional Indian psychology, which came from our ancient texts and scriptures. After the removing the barriers and impact of Western culture, Indian psychology tried to establish itself as a separate and unique knowledge, as a modern science in 21st century and in 20th century. In 20th century, there are a lot of developments, and of course, mental health in India also taken a new shape. Establishment of mental health care centers also took place during 20th century. And development of therapeutic courses, by considering the alternative methods, also developed in India during 20th century. These are all discussed in this book, and it is worth reading. In the 21st century, as we also discussed, artificial intelligence and machine learning and neurodevelopment, it is worth noting that 21st century is a day of communication. The data has to be analyzed effectively, same as the analyzing of human brain. Human brain stores the data, and social media platform also stores a lot of important data that has to be analyzed, and customization of products will be based on analyzation of these preferences of any product in 21st century. In such a way, it is one of the ways psychology is wearing a new face, and in another way it is applied in diverse fields of development such as human resource, social work, and sports. There are also persons and institutions who try to employ psychologists in India for their business growth and organizational development. There are other notable areas which we have to consider in reading additional material from NCERT, which is already forwarded and available on open network. It is in India that this development of psychology, you have a lot of syllabus available, and it is really useful to have a understanding of psychology, its development, milestones, key important persons, and important areas where we have to understand and remember. There are Nobel Prize winners and prominent persons contributed for the psychology development. And in India, mental health programs are also initiated to take care of the mental health of Indian population. There are an enhanced National Institute of Mental Health and Sciences, Neurosciences, and National Academy of Psychology. There are a series of journals available which are sponsored by UGC, and privately it is also available for public in many other ways. In that way, I end my session and would like to help you in resolving careers so far in introduction to psychology, understanding human mind and behavior, and development of psychology in India and around the world. So looking forward for your queries, and I end this session for today. We'll catch up tomorrow. Thank you so much. Have a great day.